This table over here, what'd you guys talk about? Oh, I knew I could get something out of Miguel.
Our table kind of all agreed that everyone's for more rigor in the classroom and that there is already rigor located in some of the classrooms in school districts all across Central Texas. I know one of the things that we talked about was the difference between an academic class and then those advanced placement classes, and exactly how much rigor and how much of those soft skills are taught in those two different types of classrooms, and that it shouldn't matter whether you're in an academic class, a pre-P class, or an advanced placement class, that teachers and or that the community should demand that the teachers and the school district put that critical thinking and rigor into any classroom, not whether or not it's advanced placement or academic. Some of the things that we also talked about were, I guess, like the message we would send if we did put all the emphasis in science, technology, education, and math. And it was, what about the liberal arts education, and that if we did kind of say what we care about is science, technology, education, and math, how would a person who enjoys writing see that as? Would we kind of inhibit their creative abilities because we were saying, well, we aren't really pressing creative writing, but we want you to become an engineer, kind of a thing? Like how finding a balance between liberal arts education and STEM education. Some other things that we talked about was how the community would play a role in that, and it was through internships, mentoring, kind of things that we've all been talking about. And we, like I said, we agreed rigor needs to be in every classroom, and I think SMCISD does a good job of that and teaching those soft skills.
Boy, the theme of the community responsibility keeps coming back, doesn't it? Hear that over and over again. Station David's group, what was happening over here? What did you learn? Did you learn anything? Did you hear something you hadn't heard before, or think about something a little bit differently?
Well, one of the things, or two of the things actually that we spoke about, number one, when we talked about beefing up math and science, the group got into a discussion about, what do we mean by beefing up? Do we mean making students take a variety of sciences and a variety of maths before they're ready, and pushing students to take classes that maybe they're really not prepared to take? And should we look at the basics and make sure that our students have a better foundation and that they understand those basic maths before they're able to move on? So maybe more of a focus on the basics and just making sure that all students are able to achieve at that level. And then another thing that was brought up, that a different perspective, was about the statistics and looking at, a lot of people at our table thought that a lot of times the statistics sort of lie and maybe tell there's more to the story than you see and stuff. And for example, one of the things was in the United States, we have a culture where we encourage our students to go out and be what they want to be and do something that interests them. And we don't drive every student to be an engineer. We don't drive every student to be a scientist in a laboratory. We have a student here who's very interested in art at our table, and that's what drives him, that's what he is interested in. And versus other cultures and other countries where they may, they push their students to do things like become an engineer, become a scientist, and they don't have that choice. And so that's very different in our culture. And so we have to take a look at that and say, is it appropriate to beef up science and math for every student in the United States? Is it appropriate in our community?
So that recognition that the decisions we make about how we educate our children says a lot about what we value and about who we are, what our identity is. I can't get back to this group back here, but I'm curious what was going on back here, what y'all were learning.
Our table was quite congruent with this table. We agreed overall by and by that accountability standards are important. And because we understand the rationale that many of us are educators and we understand that we need to have accountability. However, many of us were concerned that it's deleterious for our gifted students as well as perhaps students who have learning disabilities. But we did agree that as a community, there are a lot of things we can do. We like the idea of having academies and involving the community. We also like the notion of academies preparing our students for college. One of our colleagues at the table talked about how the cosmetology that she took in high school allowed her to put herself through college. And it could also allow a high school student to decide where they want to go with their college career or what they may not want to do. We also felt that internships would be important, and we felt that we have a love-hate relationship with the computer. My favorite quote was, "We're bored with the fast-paced life." Thought that was kind of interesting.
Super, thank you. We have one more approach, and I think we've had a nice little segue, because one thing that came up over and over again was internships, more opportunities in the community,